Oh. Okay, now we're live. Hi, my name is Carly with the Charleston County Public Library, and I am here tonight with my guests Michaela and Gloria from Cummins, and they are here to give us some resume tips on the best practices and the most effective way to have a resume that will stand out. If you have any questions while they're talking, please feel free to leave a comment and I will read that out to them later. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks for the introduction. So like she mentioned, my name is Michaela and I am a current HR team member at the Cummins Charleston Provo plant. I've been in HR for 7 years, so have attended a lot of different recruiting events to talk to prospective employees. And so I've seen my fair share of resumes and looking forward to help you with yours in this session. Gloria?
Thanks, Michaela. Yes, my name is Gloria Frazier, and I'm a recruiter for the team here in Ladson. And I've been a recruiter for about 15 years. So I've seen quite a few resumes just like Michaela has over the years. And I think we can both bring some tips and tricks to assist you kind of moving forward when creating that document. That is so important.
Awesome. So we'll go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so here's what we plan to discuss in this short video. Tips on where to start, because we do understand it's an overwhelming process at times. Tips for formatting, content recommendations, and then lastly, we'll share our recruiter's perspective and what recruiters are looking for. So where to start? Like I mentioned, if you're anything like me, even just the fact of updating my already existing resume, I find is a difficult feat, something that I kind of dread doing. So to make this task a little bit more manageable, we have some tips for you. First and foremost, take out a scratch piece of a paper or a notebook pad and just start writing down what your different work experiences are. It's okay if you don't know the exact start and end dates. Just put start with the month or even the year if you can't recall the months. And then once you've started writing down your different companies or organizations you've worked for, perhaps it's even something that you own your own business or did it as an entrepreneur, then you can start writing out the different job descriptions. And you'll use this notepad piece of paper to then build a resume. And so you have, I just learned this the other day, lots of different resources at your fingertips that are all free. One of which is you can actually go ahead and do a simple Google search and look up resume templates. My favorite thing to do is when I'm applying for a new job, I search the job title that I am going to be applying for. So for example, it might be a technician. So what are technician resumes? And then they come up with lots of different samples. So some of those bullet points in the samples even jogs my memory of, oh, I do that. And so I reword and then I put it in my own experience. Another way is local job boards. Some of the very popular local job boards will actually create a resume for you. All you have to do is upload your information and it's a copy paste into the resume format for you. And then lastly, sometimes it can be difficult to think from the outsider's perspective and really think at a high level of what you do. Sometimes you can easily forget, oh, I do that every day, right? I take that for granted that that's something I know how to do. So ask a family member, coworker, or friend for help developing your resume.
Awesome. Thank you, Michaela. Yeah, I'm going to dive into the next screen. And just to touch on Michaela's comment for the previous slide, Indeed is a great place to input your information and it will populate a resume for you based off what you input. So that is one excellent resource that I highly recommend. So as far as the formatting, again, if you're going to kind of create a resume on your own, you want to keep it clean and attractive, make it professional looking, keep the fonts the same, don't make them too big, the words too big, don't bold everything. Of course, bold the most important parts, but it will help when somebody's looking at your resume to be able to say, oh, they definitely have the skill set we're looking for. We generally try and keep it as far as the font type, you know, Arial's a really good one. Time New Roman's an excellent one. And as far as the size, I think that's what I was alluding to, was keep it like at 12, the size, the 12 font. That's not too big. It's not too small, but it definitely, it makes it so it's readable for the other party. And then just making it easy to read. You'll see we definitely like to see resumes that are broken out by sections. And on the next couple screens, I will definitely talk about that. And then having those bullet points. You can't, in my opinion, you can't put too much information. This is how you're going to sell yourself to your new opportunity. So, but yes, it's all important about how does it look? You know, how am I going to grab their attention? So we want to keep it professional and clean and neat. So, and on this next slide, so this is like a breakdown. So creating that heading at the very top of your resume, you just need basic information. Definitely your first and your last name. If you go by, like, as you can see from the screen, like William, Bill, you want to put, if you want to put, you go by Bill, that's fine too. But definitely your first and last name is a must, and having a professional email address. They're completely free. So go grab one that seems that, you know, might have just your first and last name or maybe your initials, because that you'd be surprised some of the resumes that we have seen with unique email addresses. And then your phone number. You can put your mailing address, but I guess what I've seen, just a lot of people who just put their phone number, and that's just a way for us to reach you, whether it's through email or through just a quick call, a quick text message as well. And then right under that, you're going to create like a career objective. So this is another way to sell yourself. This is just a quick 1-2 liner for you to really kind of grab somebody's attention, because think about how many resumes we get, how many hundreds of resumes we get. And we just need somebody who's quick and to the point. So we can see that quick objective telling us what you're looking for. And so a couple of those examples, you know, defined a challenging opportunity as a production assistant, or something like to attain a full-time opportunity in which I can contribute. It doesn't matter how many how many years of experience, whether you think it's not enough, go ahead and put that in there. If you have just 2 years of experience, put that in there and say you're looking for this type of role. So again, that's just one thing, one quick glance that we as recruiters can look at and say, okay, this person, we definitely want to keep looking down. Our focus is to go down the page and not stop right there. So get us to go down that page. All right, and then the next kind of major, this is really important bullet point, is your work experience. This is where you want to list, you know, everything that you've done. Of course, not too much in detail, but the key things. Think about 5, you know, different bullet points that you can put in there. You know, first, of course, you want to start out with your work history. Start at the top with your most recent work history, your most recent job experience. Put that down. You're going to include the employer name, the title you had, and like Michaela said, the dates of employment. I do not expect you to say, hey, I started there on March the 5th, 2021. I just need a month, you know, just give us a time frame of when you think you started, and then, you know, kind of roughly when that particular opportunity ended. And again, key accomplishments, and not just the responsibilities, because we want to see and hear, I say here, but we want to see visually what you were able to accomplish in that role and what were some of your responsibilities. The other a nice to have, an amazing bullet point to have, because when recruiters go in and pull resumes, they're looking for keywords, and that is extremely important. So to have these computer skills, some companies, maybe you're interviewing for a position that you have to have Excel experience. You'll find recruiters looking for Excel in the resume, or maybe you have QuickBook experience kind of on the financial side. But whatever you've utilized, it definitely is going to help when you input that in that section. And it just gives the recruiter a quick view of what you are familiar with. And then right below that is your education and your background. If you've graduated from college, go ahead and put that on there. If you're anticipating to graduate, put that on there too. If maybe you just completed a your high school degree, that is fine. Go ahead and list that. Obviously, some jobs don't require anything outside of a high school diploma, GED, which is Cummins, but then some do require it. So you definitely want to list that information so there's no questions at the end of the process. And then military experience. We love our veterans. So that's definitely something that we like to see. And I know some people list it, some people don't for various reasons. But it is definitely, when I see a resume come across my desk that has that military background, that just piques my interest for so many reasons. And so definitely showcase that if you feel comfortable. And then right below that, you can have an optional section. Maybe you won some awards at your previous job. Definitely something that you want to point out, some accomplishments, or maybe some projects that you help lead, or it's something you help develop and create. So again, as an employer looking at your resume, this is your opportunity to tell us what you can do. And show us your previous work experience. So keeping it professional, highlighting those key points, having that objective in the beginning, creating the computer skills so that we can pull those keywords off your resume that you have this and this and this, because we can get really we can dive down into it by ways of searching for resumes, and it will only pull back certain things if they have A, B, and C in a resume, if that's what we decide to look for. But yeah, so again, these are just some options. Again, I highly recommend you doing all of these on your resume, but you can do as you see fit. So yeah, so that's definitely kind of how to build out a resume, and just kind of a breakdown of what you can expect to put on your resume. So this next screen, this is just pulling, just a sample resume. As you can see, you've got your name at the top. This person put their physical address, which is fine. And then a summary of qualifications. That's that one to two sentences, or 2 to 3 sentences to tell us a little bit about what you've done in your previous career or your previous job. Now this one's just a little bit out of order. You can do it the layout just as long as all the information is on that resume. That's what's most important. You can have the layout. You want to put background at the top, that is fine, put the background at the top, but definitely making sure right below that you can see getting your experience in your previous roles, outlining. You've got the company that you've worked for, the city and state where it was located, and to the right of that you have the tentative, hey, I started in 2018 and I ended in 2013. Below that you have your job title and a little bit about kind of your key contributions, what you did in that role. And that's the most important part. So again, you see how there's only like 5 bullet points. Try and keep it to 5, maybe 6 bullet points. And if you don't have that many, that's okay. Just put something in there, at least 2 or 3 at a minimum, and expand if you can. And then the technical avenue, more of like I mentioned earlier, what computer software programs are you familiar with? And as far as Microsoft Office, again, for some companies, it's extremely important. So you definitely want to list that you're familiar with Word or PowerPoint. And then if like this resume, for example, is for a C++ programmer. So that's a key thing for them to have. Again, that doesn't apply to everybody, but you just put what your skills and what would be a good section to, or good thing to call out. And then at the bottom, as you can see on this resume, it has some volunteer stuff that this individual did. So you may or may not have volunteer experience, but if you do and you want to put that on there, it's great for us to see, because Cummins is a very, we like to give back to the community. So when we see that, again, that's a positive. That's where you're giving back to the community. So, but yeah, so this is just an example of what a resume might look like. And here's another one. Again, this is, you can see how different they are. There really is no right or wrong layout. It's just making sure you have all that information that I listed in the 2 previous slides to ensure that everything is on that resume. But again, you've got family, you've got friends. If you have any questions, you can do a quick Google search. It'll pull up how to formulate or create a resume template. But again, this is just pointing out great ways to showcase your previous experience and your skill sets, and then highlight your technical skills, and then your employee experience, and then your education at the bottom. Again, 2 great examples of how different a resume can lay out, how you can lay out a resume, but you still have all that information. So again, that's where it's key, is making sure that everything is listed in there, because I can't read your mind. This is what I'm looking at, and this is what I will move off of, go off of moving forward. So. And
Great, thanks Gloria for walking us through that and also showing the examples. I think that was really helpful. So another thing for us, especially that we do see a lot of resumes, is we have some easy do's and don'ts. So on the do side, this is things we want to encourage you to do, is keeping the audience in mind. Gloria's kind of mentioned this. The person that's going to be receiving your resume, it could be a hard copy or also a digital download. So making sure that you keep in mind, they have probably a very limited time they have to read your resume. So making sure, as Gloria mentioned, that your information is easy to read. It catches their attention at the top with that summary statement, and also bullet points for the eye to easily navigate is really important. Also highlighting transferable and employability skills. So what this bullet point is meaning is referencing, you want to put down work experience, even if it isn't a direct correlation to the job you're applying. If it's something that you learned and developed in, say maybe you were a shift manager at Wendy's, that might not be directly applicable to a job as a mechanical engineer, but at the same time, it says by the fact that you were in a leadership role, you know how to work with others, you know how to delegate, to manage a team, and to probably manage conflict. So those are still great skills that as a recruiter or potential hiring manager, I would see that as something that could transfer into another role. As Gloria's already highlighted, can't reiterate it enough, please use legible font, none of that curly cues or Comic Sans. I know it's fun to look at on invitations, but not so easy to read. And then also making sure that you pick a font size that's easy for the person to read. Because if it is a struggle to get the information from your resume, unfortunately, the person probably reading it is not going to put forth that extra effort. So it's up to you to put that effort on the front end when you're building your resume. Now moving on to the don'ts. So here in the US, we do not have resumes that include date of birth, social security number, any personal information, especially like your salary history or your target salary. That target salary information, that will hopefully be addressed later on in the interview process. There will be time for you to address that, but starting at the beginning, that's not a good way to go, because you could be restricting yourself from really great opportunities. Also, why you left the job. Again, not something to highlight on your resume. That's something that I'm sure the interviewer or recruiter will ask later down the road. No pictures.
Yes.
This is something that I've seen a lot more recently. And that's just something that we don't want to see. No pictures of yourself, of your products you've made. That's something that, again, describe with words, anything that's related to an accomplishment that you made or you built. And then if pictures are necessary or any other additional information, a recruiter will ask you for that later on down the road. Next one also is really important, typos. So using those friends, families, and previous coworkers to your advantage, have other people look at the resume. I know my brain sometimes automatically fills in words, and when I read it, it makes sense. But when I have someone else read it, they inform me that there's some things missing. So that's important to make sure that it's, again, clear as well as professional.
Right.
And then put something in your resume you haven't done before. Definitely don't do that, because in the interview stage, or even when someone calls you after reviewing your resume, they're going to ask you questions about everything that you put on your resume. Anything you put down there is fair game for them to inquire more about. So definitely be prepared. And perhaps if it's an older job, brush up and have some talking points on some of those experiences that might have been a while ago. Gloria, do you have anything else to add on this slide?
No, yeah, that was great. Again, on the don'ts, just steer clear of stuff that's too personal. Just steer clear.
Okay, and this is one slide that I am really excited about, because I think for those of you that do have experience making a resume, you might know the formatting tricks and tips, but something that I hope is new for you and is important and interesting to hear is from Gloria and I's perspective of what we as recruiters look for, what stands out and catches our eye. So in terms of the content, all of this is really related to what you put in the bullet points. So by having multiple jobs on your resume, even if you only have one or two, if you have longevity in a role or two, that shows us that you are dependable. You are someone that is not just going to come into the company and then leave 2 months later. You're someone that wants to grow within an organization. That's very attractive for a future employer to see. Collaboration. If you have a leader or teammate in your title, even in your bullet point, if you say something like worked with team on XYZ, that's going to show us that you can work in a group setting. I don't know many roles nowadays that you work independently alone. Being a team player is hugely important at Cummins and a lot of different employers as well. That's just problem solving. So another way to put this is, did you develop a process or improve a current process? If you can highlight that in one of your bullet points, that's going to be really great, because as a recruiter, we see that that's someone who has critical thinking and is going to be able to walk in the door and give us ideas of how we can improve. We love to see that. And then last, if you have experience training others, this again could be as simple as, you worked in retail and you trained the new employees on the cash register system. That experience of working with others and helping them learn is a sign of leadership. And that could be, again, a transferable skill into another area at work. Gloria, do you have any other tips or?
No, I was just going to say to that picture on there, again, this is your chance to sell yourself. This is your opportunity to show us what you can do for our company or any company. So again, just going through all those steps, making sure everything's, you've done the spell check, you've input the bullet points, you've showcased that you're a leader in a previous job. Again, all of that, you'd be surprised how quick we can read a resume. So all of that will definitely stick out. So good job.
Awesome. Okay, so before we open it up, I hope that Carly has some viewers and have been receiving questions. We definitely wanted to talk a little bit more about who we are So we are very excited to be sponsoring this event. We are both back employees from Charleston Turbo Plant, which is located in Ladson, South Carolina. And we build turbochargers for Cummins engines and power generators. So we serve customers in over 190 countries, as well as our footprint here locally. We have 600 employees and we are growing. So we are very excited to be attending next week's virtual career fair. So you'll see us there on the 12th. So please stop by our booth. But if I had to say one reason why I enjoy working at Cummins, it's definitely because of the diverse workforce, as well as the opportunity that we get to participate in the community. That's something that our company sponsors. Every year, 4 hours of your work can go to contributing back to the community, but oftentimes the company supports a lot more. And so being part of an environment where everyone is interested and respects one another's culture and is interested in learning more and growing and helping others in the community is something that is really passionate of mine. So I'm really happy to be here. And if you want to learn more before the career fair, here's where you can go connect with us at Cummins Careers. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the major social media. Okay, do you have any questions?
We do, a few actually. One of the questions I had that I thought you talked about career objectives, and I thought that was interesting because I thought that was an outdated practice. Is that the case? Am I wrong?
So it really depends on whom you're speaking to. For me, when I see just that, hey, you've got that one liner, that two liner that says, this is what I am looking for. There are some people who are looking, let's just say for temp jobs. Then if I'm looking at your resume for a full-time opportunity, I'll just notice that you just want that temporary role. But again, just something really quick. I'm looking to grow in my career as a recruiter. And I feel that I can bring a lot of my strengths to Cummins in this way, and list a couple of them. So that's just something real quick and to the point.
Okay, and how does that fit in or compare with having a cover letter? Because I've been told that the cover letter is where you really get into the objective part of it.
That's a really good question. So I'll tell you from our positions, just based off of like I recruit mainly for the hourly roles at Cummins. So cover letters is not really, it's not really something I can take the time to read. I'm more interested to see again about their previous work history, their, how long they've been in that, role before. But it really, I think that's where you can include one, but I personally, I think it's one of those where if you've got, it might depend on the type of position that you're interviewing for. But for us in these types of roles that we're looking for, we just want that resume.
Okay. Yeah, I personally, they're a lot of work. It's a big time investment. So
they are.
I agree with Gloria. I would say don't create the cover letter until it's a requirement of the application. Mm-hmm. So, and when you create the cover letter, I know we didn't talk on that, but you're going to pull directly from the resume. And so having that objective statement at the top of your resume gives you a foot up in starting that cover letter if you have to do that at some point.
Okay. And then you mentioned not having the time to read. So in the case of Cummins, you all are reading each one, or do you have like the software that looks for keywords and things like that?
So, and this goes back to my previous work history. When I'm looking for like a certain type of Java developer, there are certain keywords I will do. It's called a Boolean search to pull that resume from whatever database. But when I'm looking for resumes that come in our door, it's more of, hey, I'm going to look at this, and this. Let me see their work history. Let me see some of their experience, their bullet points. How can that translate well into an opportunity with Cummins? Okay. But yeah, so I apologize. That's something more of my previous.
Yeah, well, I will say, Gloria. Oh, go ahead, Carly.
I was just gonna say, I think it just speaks to, it's a case by case, depending on your job, depending on the company. So that you can't just have a generic resume for everything you're gonna apply to. It doesn't always work for everything.
Correct.
It sounds like.
Yeah. And we didn't touch on that, but it's important because of those types of searches, to look at the job description that you're applying to and make sure that you have some of those words in your resume that you highlight. If they are calling, it's important to have strong communication skills, put that in your resume. Where can you put examples of that in your resume?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of attention to detail when you're applying. And I'm sorry if I missed this. You mentioned not explaining why you left jobs on your resume. Did you say accounting for gaps in work history? Did you mention that? I didn't catch if you did.
So, and this is just me speaking, again, I've worked for employers where, hey, they want to see that you put a gap of employment. And then I've worked for other employers where they're like, hey, let's just let them talk about, hey, if there's a gap of employment, let them explain during the interview process.
Okay.
Again, that can go both ways. If somebody, most of the time when a recruiter is reaching out, they're going to ask you, I see that, you know, I'll just give an example. I had somebody the other day, he gave me a resume that was from 2018 and he was saying that was current. I was like, so what have you done for work most recently? And so we were just going back and forth to make sure we had the most recent resume and that it was updated. But as far as those gap of employments, I think, again, it depends kind of on who your target audience is. But yeah, but we're going to ask. We are definitely going to ask.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard from people that I've helped at the library, you know, it's kind of nerve-wracking to have that gap because you're kind of expected to never have a gap in employment. So it's nice to know that there's recruiters and employers out there that will take the time to.
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely
learn.
want to understand, especially, so I think it goes back to, though, how are you highlighting your skills that you do have? So even if you have been out of the workforce for a few months, for a year, you know, the time that you were working, what were the skills that you used that you can still bring to the table, right? Because I do think as a workforce, we are becoming a lot more understanding of different types of arrangements. You know, we have stay-at-home dads now. And then also, you know, we have unemployment rates due to layoffs with, you know, the pandemic, different things like that. So a lot of things that are outside the control of the individual. And so that's why we as recruiters do want to take that time to read through what's it say on the resume. And then if there are gaps, if there's enough things that caught our attention on the resume, we'll pick up the phone and call to ask those questions.
That's good. That's encouraging. That's good to know. Have you ever run into anything with dates being old? I've read that if the year you graduate high school or college is, you know, more than 10 years or something, like, you can run into ageism, as they call it. Does the years matter when it comes to education, or what does that look like as a recruiter?
So what I would recommend is, that is another good question, because again, you don't want to put your age, like, that's the thing, you don't want to put your age on a resume, but you can take a look at somebody's work history and just be like, hey, they've definitely got the experience in the work environment. But what I've seen in a lot of instances, people take off, I graduated in, you know, 2001. We don't need that. We just need to know that you completed it. And then again, during that interview, whether it's the initial phone screen or, you know, if I highly doubt anybody's going to ask it, because I probably have never encountered that, but just keep it off your resume. Just say that, hey, you completed, let's just say, I know Trident Tech's here, completed Trident Tech, and here's the associate's degree you received. But yeah, that's one thing you probably can nix for a little bit, and you'd be just fine.
Yeah, because I feel like that does reveal your age, and you're trying not to give out too much personal information. Or
it's not on my personal resume. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good to know. What about including all work experience, like since the beginning of time? How far back do you go, or what do you include? What do you not include?
It's a good question. I'm sorry, Michaela, I feel like I'm just jumping in, but if you want to chime in, go ahead.
Good. You're giving really good answers.
So, you know, I've heard stick to 10 years. I've heard stick to 5 years. You know, I think, and this is another topic, I think it could take us down a rabbit hole, but how many pages should you have? You know, again, is it, you know, some people we think it's great. If you just have a 1-page resume, that's fine. If you have a 2-page resume, again, that's fine. getting up to the 3 pages, that's a lot. Anything outside of that, which I have seen before, I'm like, okay, we really need to scale this down. Just putting the most relevant work experience. Again, I think if it's something where we're looking at, you've got that tenure, we can easily pick up that maybe there was some more work history prior to that. And we'll definitely ask those questions. But as much as we would love to showcase every job we've held, it's probably not necessary. So maybe just limiting it to the most recent 5 to 7 years, just kind of cutting it off at that mark.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask about the length and the detail that goes into it. So I'm guessing like just using the bullet point list and maybe not huge paragraphs or novels can help you
Correct.
keep it down, the length.
Even though you're trying to sell yourself, again, we don't need a big old novel because that would be too much.
And so another thing, just to keep in mind with those, because it's kind of complicated. So I've had some resumes recently where people have left manufacturing experience. They did that maybe 10 years ago, but then they've been doing more of like nursing home care, but they're now applying for a manufacturing job and they didn't put that in their resume or their application. So in this instance, that was 10 years ago, but that's relevant to what you're applying for now. So I think another way, if you have those kind of changes where you're going to different industries, you could put that in a section called relevant experience. And you could put that up at the top of your resume, even though it wasn't the most recent. And then I echo what Gloria says in terms of not going all the way extensive in your career history, but also if you have been at companies for 10 years at a time, that's something impressive to us. So maybe you do want to go back to 30 years, but recognize that the longer, more previous jobs should be shorter in their descriptions because we want to care more about what have you been doing most recently.
That's what I was thinking. And I think I said something like this already, but I think what I feel like I keep hearing is it's pay attention to the job you're applying to the company you're applying to, and cater the information that you're presenting to be the most relevant to the company and the position. So, wow, thank you. That was all the questions that came up while you were presenting. I'm sure I'll think of more later. But I do want to thank you both so much for being here, Michaela and Gloria from Cummins, presenting some resume tips for us tonight. And also, like you mentioned, we'll be at our virtual job fair, which is on Wednesday the 12th from 10 to 3. The link will go up on Facebook if you want to register for that. And with that, I will wish you all a good night. Thank you so much.